Truth is, Tanner, 3 years on the department and you're still the best driver I got. We don't get too many ex-racing boys in here. Low-life rumble in Miami is there's a hunt on for a guy who can pump the gas. Big getaway, big job. Maybe even some kind of hit. Some hood by the name of Rufus is in the picture. We need a line on it. Coffee? Black, right? Guys upstairs were asking for you in person. Look, we need you to go under. But no one's gonna know except me. If I bring anyone else in, I'll let you know. I need your badge. Any questions?
This tutorial, this driving test, was kind of infamous to people who played the game when it first came out for being really difficult to complete. But I think if you're even a little bit familiar with driving games, you could probably handle it. And if this training mission is too much for you, then Driver probably isn't for you. The Driver series is actually very difficult, very challenging, pretty rough. Doesn't pull any punches. So if the bar here is too high, then it probably isn't for you, no. This amazing music, though, it's appropriate for all audiences. I'd say that was a successful job interview. Let's see what our first task is.
You have one new message.
It's us. So listen. We want to use you on a bank job. No hassles. Should be real sleepy. You want in?
Real sleepy sounds like the perfect first job to me. Welcome to the main gameplay of Driver. All of the missions take place in these big cities. There are 4 of them, but we're getting ahead of ourselves here. This first mission is real easy, real smooth, makes for a good tutorial, even more so than the actual tutorial. First thing I want to say is that the handling of the cars in this game is spectacular, as should be expected from Reflections. This hill right here is to teach you how to get used to inclines and the differences they make to your momentum. We're going to be seeing much more deadly hills later, so it's nice that they show them to us in a more docile context right now. We haven't seen any cops yet, and we won't see any cops for a bit still. We're almost at the bank, but we're a little early. If we stop in front of the bank door too early, then our felony meter rises up really fast, because we're being kind of suspicious just hanging outside the door. We can only stop in front of the door when there's 15 or fewer seconds remaining. Our felony meter went up, and the felony meter determines exactly how much the police hate us at any given moment. That could have gone better. We've escaped the bank, but we're in a very narrow roadway right now, which is bad for us, because there's no room to maneuver. There's a cop up ahead, and the cops always try to cut across to stop you if you're behind them, but they just ram into the wall if you slam on your brakes instead. We won't be able to do much if we run into a cop in front of us on that small roadway, so let's upgrade. Excuse me, sir. You should always be on the look for the most optimal route through every mission. For example, this is much easier than taking that small roadway all the way to your goal. There's plenty of room to evade cops here, though we do want to stay on the right side as much as possible. You know, so we can flow with the traffic as opposed to getting hit by oncoming traffic. We won't be able to successfully hide these guys away if... Oh wait, hold on, a police blockade. That's the biggest reason we wanted to upgrade to a bigger street. The police blockade could have completely blocked that smaller roadway, but here we can glide through the median to get away from them. So police don't have set spawn points. They can appear in any place around you on the map, which makes them incredibly dangerous. But we're already at the goal, so we don't need to worry about that anymore.
You have 2 new messages.
It's me. You did good. We got a real hot car. We gotta get it out of here by afternoon. We need plates changed, respray, man. We need a whole workout. Get yourself down here if you want the work. But this car is hot, man. I mean real flame grill, super hot. Name's Tico. I heard about you. I heard a lot about you. Need a ride. Don't bring no tail. It's me.
We chose this next mission because it's a real good chance to get acquainted with the felony meter. We actually start with a bit of the felony meter because, as they said, the car is hot. The police will know it's stolen. There is no tactical benefit to driving through the grass. I just wanted to show you the breakable objects. You might notice that one of the cops already saw us. When we have felony meter, any cops that appear on the map will be actively looking for us and they'll spot us from farther away. The only exit from that little burrow back there is this small roadway, and as we already know, small roadways are very bad for us. So just like last time, we're going to find a route to a bigger roadway at the earliest convenience. An important mechanic in this game is losing the cops. That's really important and you need to get good at it. The easiest way to lose the cops is to simply drive faster than them. If your car has no damage, you will always drive faster than the cops. Up here, this guy needs to make a U-turn. Cops always make really wide U-turns because they try to cut you off, and they don't expect you to drive where they used to be. So just go ahead and drive where they used to be, because they'll make the mistake of trying to cut you off every time. Your car only really starts to slow down when you're taking a lot of damage, like when your meter is almost completely full. And that's not something we really need to worry about right now. Another police blockade again, just cross over the grassy median. Now, we do need to make it to our goal without a cop chasing us. If we haven't lost the cop by the time we reach the goal, then we won't be able to finish the mission. This is another thing the felony meter plays an important part in. The higher the felony meter, the harder it will be to lose cops, because the more frequently they will appear. You need to be able to quickly gaze at the minimap to see what's ahead at any given point, because the radar does see further than your eyes can. And like back there, if you are stuck up against a police blockade in a small roadway, aim for the very edges. At no point, at any circumstance, should you charge toward the center. We're pretty near the goal, and we only have one guy on our tail to worry. Oh, he's gone. Now, we could stick to the more open roadways, but we're more likely to get spotted that way. So we're going to cut through these little alcoves right here.
You have 1 new message.
We want to talk to you. The marina on South Point. We'll just hang loose till you get your ass round here.
Welcome to what I think is the first truly challenging mission of Driver. It's also the first multi-part mission, and it sets up a theme for all the multi-part missions to come. But first things first, unlike the other missions we played so far, we don't really have any time to slow down. Our goal is pretty far away, so we need to put the pedal to the metal. Now, the thing about getting to your goal quickly is, even though it may not be best for evading cops, you want to drive as straight as possible for as long as possible. Curves slow you down immensely. You can access the full map at any time in the pause menu, but if you're not in the mind to do that, you see where the black fog is pointing us to? Wait until it's directly horizontal from you and then make your turn. The maps in the original Driver are kind of small. I mean, they're really huge for their time period, definitely. But they're kind of small, and this has the advantage of you easily memorizing the locations you drive in. You might think we only have a minute left and there's no way we could possibly make it, but a minute is a long time. But our goal is on the left side of the road, so we're going to do something incredibly dangerous and drive on the left to get there faster. Otherwise we probably wouldn't make it in time. Driving toward oncoming traffic is obviously incredibly dangerous. The cars will make an effort to stop or swerve out of your way, but they don't have a lot of time to react, obviously. On the plus side, there are a few things more satisfying than completely evading oncoming traffic with ease. And it's really the only way to get to some destinations on time. Gotta thread that needle.
Need you to make an exchange. This case for a locker key. It's a sweet deal. Cash for a key. In and out. Wham, bam, boom. Meet them at the marina. Get the key or stay out of town.
Now we're on to the second part of our mission. The thing about multi-part missions is that the game counts each part as a separate mission. So when you press restart, it restarts you from the nearest part. Which is useful. But in some respects, it just treats the separate parts as checkpoints. For example, if you were to exit the game and restart, you wouldn't be able to start back up from where we started just now. If there's one piece of advice I have to give about this game, it's that don't freak out or give up on a mission just because you swerve out of control. Wrestle with the car, get your control back. The mission's not screwed yet. Now if you get slammed so hard that you come to a complete stop or get spun around the wrong way and then start driving the wrong direction, then maybe it's time to restart. But as long as you're still driving in the right direction, don't give up yet. We're really fortunate because these roads have just enough space on the median to squeeze past the cops. Right there. This is the only road that's like that, really. In this city, I mean. In other cities, there's plenty of ways to get around cop barricades. We don't have to worry about making it all the way back to our hotel or anything. The drop point is just right over here. Now we're probably going to get rammed when we reach the checkpoint. The police don't stop just because you've reached your goal. But we should still have enough health for what's up next.
Get the case, Seth. Nothing personal, buddy. Take care of him, and I'll see you back at Dodge. Seth? Seth?
Driver's presentation can be less than stellar, so in case you're wondering what happened there, we got cheated out of the key, shot that guy's friend, and now we have to race the boat all the way to the docks. I mean, I'm not sure why he wanted Seth to kill us, It's, what were we going to do, tell on him? What would that accomplish? So for this third part, we retain the damage from the previous two, which is bad because our felony meter is so high that there are a ton of blockades. The advice remains the same: aim for the very edge of the blockades to get through, and wait for the car to get smashed out of the way before you drive forward, otherwise you'll grind against it and lose way more health than you should. They never really tell you what's in the locker that we're getting the key for. It's presumably more valuable than a lot of money. I like that you can see the speedboat in the water next to us as we're racing it. Over there, to our left. It popped out just now. So the police generally have a hard time following you through the docks, not always, because of these tight turns. The police drive so fast that they have a hard time negotiating these. This place can be like a maze, but, well, there are helpful signs telling us which way to go.
You have one new message.
Rufus here. I've been watching your progress, boy. Come meet me at the Electric Lady Lounge on Ocean. We're gonna talk. No tell. You dig?
Alright, so we're finally going to meet this Rufus guy we heard about way back in the intro. We don't know what he does or who he is, but we know he's important. Now this mission is similar to the one we did with the briefcase a while ago. We have to go from here all the way to the other side of the city, but we have to go even further this time, on a stricter time limit. That being said, you definitely should have memorized the way there at this point. The game really expects you to. And if you haven't, then I don't know how you got this far, because memorizing the route is pretty much a requirement to get here. Let's take this opportunity to talk a bit more about the mission structure. There are main story missions which stay relatively the same regardless of what missions you choose, and the main story missions are mandatory. And then there are optional missions, which are the ones we can scroll through. Now, I'm choosing all the optional missions that I think will show off the game the best. And a lot of the other optional missions I don't show, they're just variations of ones we're going to see. That being said, there are optional missions toward the end of the game that are significantly different and even lead to very slightly different endings. So I will show those off. Just like last time, it would be wise if we chose to drive on the opposite side of the road. Our destination is mostly straight ahead, so it's not going to get us there faster, but it does make it easier to lose the cops. This is one of the easiest missions in Miami, and there's nothing here that you shouldn't be used to already at this point.
See, here's what's going down. You're talking to Rufus.
The kitten's Jesse. The wheels you driving around this town are making a whole lot of noise. And you know what? I know you. I know your face. You know who this is, Jesse?
He's just some driving cat.
No, he ain't. He ain't just some driving cat, lady. This cat's got gasoline in his veins. Looks like you could use a drink, pussycat.
I ain't thirsty.
Looks like you could use a drink, pussycat. I was at the track when Rusty Slater got a little bumpy with you. Man, you started some fire that day. I thought they'd never put that baby out. Okay, so listen. You and me gonna do some business, see? The cops are babysitting a friend of mine, and he ain't too happy with the arrangement. I'm gonna take him off their hand. You catch my drift? There's a French cat in an armored car. Man, he's one mean, cold-blooded killer. When he ain't in jail, you know some cat somewhere's gonna take a visit to the morgue with a cap in his ass. See, we gonna bust him out. You're gonna drive him away, all the way into a sweet $8,000. You dig? My friend, you better understand about Rufus. You screw up, you better not show up. We got a deal, man?
Small bills.
Fly, man. That's called a French cat.
Right from the start of this mission, it's easy to time it so you can slam right into the cop car's side and deal massive damage. This is our first real chase mission, and it's pretty fun. As far as I know, he doesn't deviate from his normal path very much, but he does make several swervy turns. The easiest way to deal damage to him is to attack him from the side or stop in front of him. Bumping him from behind doesn't do much damage unless he's about to stop suddenly. Now, if we wanted to, we probably could have killed him already. It's possible to kill him really near the start, but that's not in your best interest. This is a multi-part mission, and how close the cop car is to his destination is how close you are to your destination in the second part. So we want to wait at least until he crosses over onto the next island before we take him out. Yeah, it's a rare situation where you get punished for doing better, I guess because they didn't expect you to be too good at it at this point, since this is your first chase mission. I find all of the chase missions to be the easiest, really. But I guess that's just because we have a marker to follow. It's a giant red arrow. So we have to take John Paul to safety, and because we were patient, we're on the same island as our destination. Now, no matter where you are on the map when you finish the previous mission, you have the same time limit. Which means if we took out the cop car at the very start, we would be in a very bad position. We have plenty of time, so the only thing that can be tricky about this is we can't have tail on us when we reach our destination. Otherwise it won't count. If you reach your destination and you still have tail, you can just drive around a bit more until it loses track. You don't even have to drive that far, you can just drive around a couple blocks over and over. But that takes time you may not have. So I'm going to present an alternate method. By the time you reach your destination in any given mission, you'll probably only have one tail on you. If you have more than one, well, just give up and restart. But usually when you reach your destination, if you still have tail, it'll just be one. The cops seem to get somewhat less aggressive when you're near your destination, but not so much so that you lose them entirely. Now we're here, but we haven't lost the tail. The thing is, cop cars are very fragile. far more than our car, and we could probably kill 4 cop cars with our full life bar. So taking out this one car, not a problem, and after he's dead, well, we technically lost the tail, so it counts.
You have 2 new messages.
I got some ram raid work for you. Should keep you real busy. It's gonna be real disco. Call me soon, man. Listen, got this real superfly car needs delivering. This baby's got the kind of groove injection horsepower that'll make you drool like you just spent 6 months in quarantine. Needs to get to an associate of ours before 7. See, he's got a job lined up for her already. So looks like it's gonna be tight. And it ain't gonna be no good to him if you get it there wrecked. Man, this baby's gotta look like it just rolled out of the factory. Man, he don't want to even know anyone looked at the bitch, let alone touch the leather. Get here real soon, or some other cat's gonna get the job. I got some... Yo!
It's me.
Yo, dude! You were cutting it real fine. Here's what's going down. I got some problems with this businessman. He thinks he don't need to pay protection no more. We're gonna have to explain to him again. He don't capiche too good, see? Well, he's got himself a chain of restaurants in town. So I kind of promised him we'd pay a visit on every one of his places by the end of the afternoon. Drive through the front of every single one. That don't give you a whole lot of time, but you just get it done. You clear?
Welcome to the episode where we're going to be doing some weird shit. In this mission we need to destroy 5 different restaurants within a time limit. When we smash through the restaurant and break tables and stuff, we get a few extra seconds, but not too many. Now, something virtually every walkthrough has told me in video playthrough is that it's impossible to avoid the cops while you do this. Just don't worry about them and smash everything anyway. I don't think that's true. In spite of what you may think, there's actually plenty of time to hit all 5 restaurants and still avoid the cops. Well, at least for the first 3 or so restaurants. After that, you need to put the pedal to the metal, and you're gonna probably get caught. It depends where the cops spawn at. But for the first 3 restaurants, you can avoid the cops easy and still have plenty of time. And don't worry, the mission automatically ends after you smash up the final restaurant. You don't have to go back to your place without tail or anything. The mission just auto-finishes. Something I've noticed about the Driver series is that, and this is probably unintentional, there are several times where it's mentioned that you're late applying for a job, or calling someone for a job, or showing up to the job. And I wonder exactly why this is, because it's not like Tanner is doing anything else but this. I mean, he didn't really have an excuse to wait as long as possible today to call that guy. Unless all of this has been happening in a couple days so far and he hasn't slept at all, I suppose that could be the case. I'm thinking way too much about this. The story of Driver is good, but it's not that complex. They didn't think about stuff like that. Alright, so now we really need to speed things up. The cops don't change this mission all that much. It's a lot more difficult if you have them chasing you the whole mission. But for the last half, nah, not really. The worst thing that can happen is you getting trapped in one of the restaurants by a cop car. But if you've been avoiding the cops up till this point, you should have more than enough health to back out regardless of whether they're there. Actually a really easy mission, all things considered, especially compared to what we're going to be doing in the next location. I couldn't actually find much information about this game's difficulty on the internet. It was somewhat infamous when it came out for being difficult, among players at least. But as for the undercover mode, not many people were talking about it, and I always wondered if that's because nobody really made it past the tutorial. Because this game is really hard. Even if you do love driving games, it's pretty difficult. Of course, if you didn't lose so much, it would be a very short game. So that might be a reason for the intense difficulty. I just decided the best course of action there would be to get rid of them.
Listen, a shipment of Kalashnikovs is coming in tonight. I need you to meet it and get the hardware out of there before the cops get their noses in.
Welcome to the hardest mission in Miami, which I'm going to make look like an absolute joke just to show off, and for no other reason, really. So we have to make it all the way to the harbor, pick up a shipment, and make it all the way back here. That's a long way to drive, and you'll probably die before you get there and back. You have a relatively strict time limit to get to the harbor. It's not that strict, though. And the time limit probably ensures that you're going to get caught by the cops on the way. At least you'd think so. But it's actually possible to make it all the way to the harbor without getting caught, even considering the time limit. And that's exactly what I plan to do. In fact, I plan to go through this entire mission without getting caught once. You have enough time to slow down if the cops are in the road right in front of you. If they take too long to get out of the way, just back up a little until they disappear from the render distance. Because obviously when the game can no longer render them, they're not following you anymore because they popped out of existence. Now, it would be theoretically possible to finish this mission without even getting any felony meter, if the game didn't pull something when we actually get to the harbor, which you'll see shortly. Welcome back to the harbor. Unlike last time, our objective is on the right side, but we don't have to go through quite a maze to get to it this time. It's pretty straightforward where you should go, just look for the obvious openings and take them. 41 seconds may not seem like a lot, but if you make it into the harbor with even 20 or 30 seconds remaining, you can probably still make it. So when you do grab the goods, the game automatically gives you a small amount of the felony meter to make the cops easier to find you. To make it easier for the cops to find you, I mean. And it auto-places a cop at the entrance of the harbor, which is the only exit also. You'll see, yeah, there it is. This is one of the few times that a game places a cop in a specific spot, but that cop will always appear there at the entrance of the harbor. This is to make it impossible for you to get to the exit without being caught. Or at least that's the idea. But you can just cut right across the middle here if you time it perfectly, without ever getting seen. And after that, you might notice there's no time limit for the drive back, so we can take things as slow as we want to avoid getting caught. Our felony meter is really tiny, and it actually shrinks more and more the longer we stay away from the cops. So yes, it is possible to get through this entire mission without being detected once, even considering the time limit, and even considering they auto-generate a bit of the felony meter and place a cop near the entrance of the harbor for you. You can still make it through without getting caught once. But the drive back's going to be really slow, so I'm going to speed that up for you. Oh, one quick note. The felony meter is actually separate entirely from being caught. It makes it easier for you to get caught if you have the high felony meter. But you can commit a felony and have your felony meter go up just by doing something illegal near a cop. They don't have to see you, but it goes up anyway.
Baby, listen to me. Why don't you come into the office? Come on, baby. Maybe I got a little something for you.
I got something for you. Now back off.
Whoa, Jesse, stay loose, kitten.
You know what this is, don't you?
Give me the piece, baby.
Back off, Rufus. Don't you go making this worse. This ain't what I wanted.
Baby, give me the piece.
You got what's yours, baby.
So Rufus was just shot dead, and we have to go find the girl who did it before she's able to flee Miami. Now there's not much to this mission, we just have to follow her train all the way to its destination. But it does have some really good atmosphere. So I'm just going to be quiet and let you enjoy the rest silently.
Listen, lady, I gotta tell you got a real bad attitude. That ain't helping any.
I wanna see my lawyer.
You don't get it, do you? We don't want you. We just wanna know about the French guy. Or maybe you wanna tell us why you blew away your boss.
He wasn't my boss.
Whatever.
Listen, if I don't do what I'm told, I don't live too long. If I tell you what you want to know, I don't live too long either.
Life sucks, huh?
Ain't you just a wise guy?
You gonna cut a deal, Or are you gonna take communal showers for 20 years?
The French guy was pulling the strings.
Who's pulling his?
I don't know. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Well, we can come back to that. Suppose you don't know where he is either, huh? I said, I suppose you don't know where
I heard. The guy's in Frisco.
I heard you were in town. Got some work and no room for second raters. The casino. You wanna come along?
My fee,
10%.
20.
Man, guys gotta make a living. 15.
20. You know my price.
Okay, but we do it my way.
Welcome to San Francisco, which looks, sounds, and is a lot different from Miami. Our first job here is very similar to our first job in Miami. We need to make it to a casino, pick up some criminals, and take them back to their hideout without any tail. Now, something you'll notice immediately about San Francisco is that it has a lot of hills. A large portion of this map is spent on slopes like that. And it can be pretty difficult to get used to them, especially when you're trying to go fast. And slowing down isn't really the answer. It's not really an option most times. You just have to get better. Just get good. Sometimes on slopes the sidewalks can be a safe area, but you also want to watch out for these trees, because in spite of them being flat 2D textures, you will smash into them and break your car. This train is another important feature of San Francisco, but we're not going to be seeing it very much right now.
Get us out of here!
The train is basically just a big mobile wall. It can be tempting to drive in the center where the train is, and that can make you go a lot faster, as long as you're able to pull out of the way in time. A lot of very good runs can end very quickly because you didn't brake or pull out of the way in time and you smashed right into the back. Or the front, depending on which direction you're driving from. You can thankfully outrun the trains, so if you get in front of them, then that's no problem. I'm slowing down here for a cop because, as you have noticed, we have no time limit. And I like to turn driver into a stealth game when I can, simply because that's an option. Probably not an intentional option, but it's part of the gameplay and I intend to show it off. In spite of how vanilla this mission may seem, there is an interesting aspect to it, but we won't get the chance to show it off for a little bit still. So if you don't mind, since I'm driving slow anyway, I'm going to speed up to when things get a bit more exciting. Okay, so maybe exciting wasn't the right word, considering we just now killed the only tail we have. But there is still something interesting, at least. There is no front entrance to the warehouse. We have to loop around to the other side and then skid across one of the buildings to reach the goal. And it's kind of weird. You wouldn't expect them to want you to drive through someplace like that. Usually where you're supposed to go is fairly obvious. A lot of the future driver games have shortcuts and unique, interesting areas for you to drive through, but this entire game is angles. There are not even any curved roads, so shortcuts aren't really a thing. You look at the map, you pick which roads look optimal, and you go that way most of the time. There are a few places where you can cut across some greenery, but that's about it. I'm not entirely sure why I turned around right there, but I'm sure past me had his reasons when he was recording this, even if I don't know what they were. I thought perhaps I was just being silly and there was a more obvious entrance somewhere, but no, this appears to be the only one. It's not that bad though, and it's nothing compared to what, you know, you might see in Driver 3. Absolutely nothing compared to that.
Listen, I don't know how, Dink, but they know. Maybe they looking for me. As soon as I take care of business, I'm gonna haul my beautiful ass out of here. You know what I say? Hey, be cool, man, okay? Listen, just buzz me if you get a line on this thing, okay, man?
You know Rudy?
Man, I don't know no Rudy. Oh, that Rudy. Sure, I know Rudy. He's my main man. Lay a little more of that green stuff on me, man, and I will sing you any song that you like.
You know the Gold Rush Hotel, Mojo?
Damn, man! Hey, the treads! Watch the treads, man!
You know it.
Yeah, I know.
French guy in the city. On the run. Miami. Tell me who he talks to, where he goes. For Rudy.
We gonna get on fine, man.
You have 3 new messages.
Cowboy, I got a briefcase needs exchanging. There's a card with a number under your door. Now, if you're interested, call. Come see me down Fisherman's Wharf. I got myself some sworn-off action in the trunk. Yuppie's gang are looking out for these hardies, so I need a driver who can punch it if he gotta. This disco your beat? I got a visit lined up to a mall. Should be sweet. Just short of a driver to complete the picture. I know you got what I need. This in your line? Yeah. It's in my line. That's good. That's good. Then we're all set.
In concept, this mission is pretty much exactly like the one at the beginning of the game where we pick up some dudes from the bank. The difference this time is that it's just a lot harder. The time limit can seem really strict, but unless you just get completely turned around, you should be able to make it to your destination with at least 20 seconds left. So don't punch it so fast that you run into a cop or smash into a wall. Because this mission comes in 2 parts, and we need to have our health in the green for the second part. If you're really lucky, you can get there without attracting the attention of the cops at all, but even if you do, they back off a bit when you get near your destination, because more spawn when the second part of the mission starts. To know whether you're making good time, you should be able to see the train pass by like we did just there. If you manage to make it to this intersection while the train is driving by, you made good time, you'll be fine. It's kind of funny how you can measure something so precisely in this game, like, oh, the train passed by exactly as I made this turn, I'm doing good. Driving down the center road here is the safest, there are no cars in here. Because they presumably don't want to break the law like us. No matter what you do, there are going to be cop cars that spawn on the outside of this building. You want to leave as quickly as possible because for some reason the cop cars glitch out right there and they can drive through the walls of the mall to get at you. So just leave immediately. Don't try to be tricky or stealthy, just leave. Now, the drive there is mostly straight. There are some turns when we get closer, but it's mostly straight down this roadway. I recommend staying on the right side of the road, the right side of the divider, and staying on the sidewalk, because there are no cars there. You do have to occasionally swerve to avoid running straight into a lamppost. If you're feeling really lucky, you can probably squeeze in between the lamppost and the divider. So these uphill sections are a lot easier to tackle if you stay on the sidewalk. If you stay on the actual road, you risk jumping into a car, which is bad. That'll hurt you a lot, even if you land on top of them. So yeah, just generally stay toward the sidewalk for this part. But of course what goes up must come down. So even though we should still stay toward the sidewalk, we can't go nearly as fast, or else we risk bumping onto the top of the divider, and we don't want to throw ourselves at the mercy of driver's physics. Physics thankfully don't play a large role in Driver, at least not the original Driver in its sequel. But if you activate them somehow, you're just fucked. When you're performing one of these missions, as long as you have tail, the people riding with you will constantly yell at you, "We've got a tail, do something, we're gonna die, the cops are gonna get us," and there's no way to make them shut up. Driving down the middle here is the best thing to do. You already saw we passed the train, so there's nothing for us to worry about. It gives us plenty of room to dodge the cops as well. If you remember that weird area in this city where we had to come in from the back, that's where we're headed right now. We might still get there with tail on us, but as long as it's just one, we should be fine. And our health's looking really good. Especially since that cop back there decided to swerve away from us instead of toward us. Not sure what that was about, but thanks. That guy totally would have hit us, though. So I'm sure you can see what I mean when I said this drive was mostly straight. You have plenty of room to dodge the cops on the second straight road, even though you shouldn't run into the corner of buildings like that. But we're going to be fine. We're still in the green, and we're nearly to our objective, so... The roads here are a lot more cramped. God damn, man. The roads here are a lot more cramped, so police barricades like that are a lot more deadly, but our health is in the green, so we're fine. Everything's fine. We're doing good. Still doing good. As you saw back there, the police barricades are not just stationary. Especially if one of them is facing toward the road that you're headed down, they will just smash into it to stop you. I know we have a tail. We only have one following us right now, I think. We don't... Oh. Well, we'll only have one following us by the time we get there. And we have plenty of health, so we can just take it out by ourselves. There are some missions where you can't do this, and those are significantly harder because the cops can spawn in from anywhere. Excuse me, sir. But yeah, that one wasn't so tough. As long as you make it to the halfway point with your health in the green, you'll probably make it to the end. We don't have a tail anymore, I killed it.
Well, maybe you need to lean on the guy a little more. I'll leave it to your professional judgment. Tanner, hey, come here. Slater, here's the guy I want you to meet. He's been doing some driving for associates of mine. So, you two know each other?
This guy used to be a driver, till he had a little accident.
Well, a little competition might be good for you, Slater.
He ain't no competition.
This is the guy who got me out. I don't think you want to shoot him, my friend. Not with a .357 Magnum in between your eyes.
Hey, put the piece away, Slater. That's what happens when you run off at the mouth. Now the score's even, so let's everyone just take it easy. Hey, I may even use both of you when John Paul here earns his pay, but we'll get round to that. Slater, Tanner's doing work for me now.
You have 3 new messages.
It's me. I got some trouble with business. Associate of mine just crossed a line. You're the guy who's gonna make him haul his ass back the other side. See, we got a cab waiting for you, and you pick up this guy and give him a ride that helps clear his thinking, make him understand our point of view.
Hi! Yeah! Let's make it a buck out of Dunkin' drumsticks
Real sweet job, cowboy. Pick up some crates we just shipped into the warehouse from out of town. Get your butt down here and I'll lay it all out for you. It's me. I got...
So there's a few of these missions where you have to scare someone in your car by acting like a lunatic. The easiest way to get the score up early on is by ramming into other cars, driving fast past obstacles, or just ramming into a wall. Now, this direct head-on collision we're about to get into, that'll put the meter up almost all the way. But at some point, the guy stops being freaked out by smashing into things. And that may seem weird, but it's part of the game mechanics, and when that happens, you need to start doing U-turns, or just driving around in circles. Basically, if the meter stops going up, just do everything you learned to do in the tutorial in the garage, and you'll eventually scare him enough. It's really weird because the guy sounds like he's about to shit his pants the whole time, and I feel like we could have stopped right after we started. But maybe Tanner just didn't want to stop yet. Now, we went through a lot of trouble to be one of the drivers for that guy we worked for last video. So you might wonder why we didn't take his job instead. And you'll see why here in a minute.
Real sweet job, cowboy. Pick up some crates we just shipped into the warehouse from out of town. Get your butt down here and I'll lay it all out for you. Real sweet job, cowboy.
My man, we gotta work fast. Someone's tipped off the cops. We gotta get these out of here now.
Get out of here! Use the RV park lockup. Don't lose the crate. It ain't tied down.
Okay, that doesn't sound too bad. The package isn't tied down, but as long as we avoid making really sharp turns or bumping into anything at high speeds, we should be fine. So yeah, this is an interesting mission type, I thought. And I thought I definitely would have had to show it the first time I played it. Because I forgot all about this mission, and I'm like, wow, this mission's actually pretty cool, I should remember to show it off. But there's a reason we didn't take this path. And that's because this mission is a lie. It doesn't appear to matter how fast you drive, how many weird, crazy turns you make, or how fast you bump into things. The crate is just there for show. Really, what this mission does is lower your health bar, but it lowers it in a way that you can't see it. We can only take 1 or 2 hits before something happens. Or many smaller hits, if you prefer. It doesn't matter. 1 or 2 good collisions will just wreck us. There's another mission later where our health bar gets lowered, but we can see how low it is. Because we take damage in accordance with our low health bar. And this one, our damage appears to increase as normal, but it doesn't. You can see we barely took any damage from that. But if I get bumped a second time, well, you'll see in a minute. So yeah, 2 direct collisions from any direction just fucking explodes the crate, and that's not what the cutscene made it sound like was happening here. But I'm sure it's not that bad, right? I'm sure if we just keep at it, we'll be able to fix this no problem. Alright, you guys, I've got a really good feeling about this one. We're closer to the goal than ever before, and we have no damage done yet. I got a good feeling. You know, I was starting to dislike this mission, and the fact that I couldn't see how much health I had left after getting bumped, and the fact that the mission lied to me about what it was. But just right up here around the corner, We just have to drive into the alley around the corner, and it'll be all over. So close. It's just right over. There's a cop. There's a cop. He's gonna see us, but that's okay. It's just one of them, and our damage meter is full. Alright, we can handle one cop. Our damage meter is full, and the goal is right there. So let's just...
Listen, Cosy's just a few blocks away from your place. You gotta get him quick, before the cops do. Get him to the chopper. If you ain't there, the chopper's going without him.
This video will be kinda short, but the next mission's a rather important one, so I didn't want to just stick it in here with this. So we have to take Cosy to the chopper. We don't have a big time limit to get to Cosy, but he's not that far away either. Even if we do catch a cop, it's one of the more lenient time limits, to be sure. The last time we saw rain, we didn't get to talk about it because I wanted you to enjoy the atmosphere. But now we can talk about rain. Rain makes your car a whole lot slippier and exaggerates its movements by a lot. A lot of people think this is pretty hard, and the final mission uses this as well. It's just one of many things stacked against you in the final mission, though. The thing is, I actually prefer the rain to no weather, because although it does mess with the handling of your car, it messes with it in my favor. I make such minuscule adjustments while driving in this game. Like, I mean, I very, very barely tap the control pad. So having exaggerated movements isn't necessarily a bad thing for me, because sometimes I don't move nearly far enough. It does also obviously impact your braking, but you shouldn't be braking that much in the first place. The rain doesn't seem to affect the handling of the cop cars any. They seem to drive at you the same way they always do. That's not really a big deal, though. You don't even have to lose them before you reach the goal. He just gets in the chopper regardless of whether there are cops behind you. You know, and that combined with the fact that the time limit is not that bad at all, this mission's one of the easier ones for sure. Now, if you were playing this mission using the control stick for whatever god-awful reason, then it would be difficult, because the control stick already has incredibly exaggerated steering. I'm not saying it's impossible to play the game with the control stick, it's just not ideal. Like I said, I make very minuscule movements, and the control stick was still too much for me. So right now I think we're on the B path of the story missions for, where are we, San Francisco, which are slightly different than the missions on the A path, but all the big story missions are identical. At least I believe them to be. I think that no matter what you do, you have to take Cosy to the chopper. I think that mission triggers no matter what path you're on, or what choices you make. That's okay though, because as you can see, it's just a pleasant cruise around town. Most of the damage I've taken has been because I was an idiot and bumped into completely innocent cars. So I think they way overestimated the danger of the rain hazard. But that's okay, because the rest of this game is plenty difficult to make up for it. Probably give you bad blood pressure problems.
Get us there on time, pal!
Mr. Tanner, I got your little friend Mojo here. Say hello to Mr. Tanner.
They bluffing, Tanner. They bluffing, man.
No, I ain't bluffing. More to the point and all, Chester ain't bluffing, and he's the one with the meaner gun. We want 10,000 greenbacks, or you ain't never gonna hear what Mojo made such a stink about finding out for you. Now, we don't care what it is. We just want the 10,000. We know you got that kind of money. Matter of fact, we were thinking of using you ourselves. But first, we're gonna have ourselves a little game. Get yourself to the call box in the Embarcadero and pick up your instructions. One last thing. Better hurry, 'cause it's gonna ring any second. And if Chester gets tired of waiting, that's bad news for Mojo here. Real bad news.
This mission isn't so bad. The toughest thing about it is the time limit. No matter how fast you drive, you're probably only going to reach the destinations with a few seconds left. But the small time limit also means the drive there is also very, very short. Which means you don't have much time to get too many cops on your tail, and even if you get one or two, you'll arrive before they can do any serious damage. This is actually the only mission I've been able to consistently finish on the first try every time. It's usually a straight shot most of the way to your destination, so you want to watch out for getting hit by anything. Because having a straight line to go in definitely means you can go faster, but if you wreck, you get really fucked up. We don't have to get the cops off our tail before we arrive at the phone booth either. If we did, this mission might be significantly tougher. Probably still doable, though. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Tanner isn't all that interested in Mojo's safety so much as he's interested in what Mojo has to say. I mean, Tanner doesn't seem very interested in anyone's safety. I guess it's a good thing he's technically working for the good guys then, isn't it?
No. This ain't no Sunday school, right, Tanner? A phone's gonna be ringing the other side of the Transamerica building. Mojo's hoping no one answers it before you do.
It's actually generally a relief to me to see a timer under a minute long, because that means the destination is really close, and it just comes down to how well you can drive in a short period. Because the longer the timer is, the longer you're going to have to drive without screwing up. It's really generous of the game to make the cops vanish between the mission checkpoints, because if they didn't, this might actually be difficult. I'm not sure whether they made the right decisions regarding this mission. I shouldn't be complaining, because the rest of the game is very difficult. I suppose you could see this as something of a breath of fresh air, especially coming off some of the harder missions that we just went through. I can see Cosy To The Chopper being difficult for most people. So how does Tanner know if he gets there early or if he's gotten there too late? Because, like, say he gets there with 10 seconds left. How do you know which one it is? How do you know Mojo's not already dead? How long would you wait for the phone to ring?
You getting the hang of this now? Now you're gonna have to get yourself over the Golden Gate. One last thing. Better hurry, 'cause it's gonna ring any second. And if Chester gets tired of waiting, that's bad news for Mojo here. Real bad news.
Aw man, I think Tanner almost made an expression there for a moment. You might want to watch out for that. You might get people thinking you have emotions. So during this last bit, it's actually the easiest in the whole mission because you can ride the trolley rail most of the way. You have a lot of room to maneuver in the center here, and you only have to watch out for the trolley whenever it does actually appear. I mean, I suppose cops could always show up, but like I said, you have plenty of room to maneuver, so there's nothing to worry about. It's a long stretch of road with nothing to avoid, really. I think it's kind of funny that each stretch of this mission plays a different music track. It's also a quick way to learn that most of the music tracks are very interchangeable. That's not a bad thing, though, in a game like this. I mean, it's good to have a memorable soundtrack, and this game definitely has that. But I wouldn't say anything about it is excessively emotional or situational, so it's probably a good idea to have easily exchangeable music tracks. Like, you could probably put anything action-y enough in here. I think most driving game soundtracks would fit, unless you went out of your way to find one that was just that weird. Like if for some reason someone replaced the music in this game with music from Lego Island Extreme Stunts or something like that. That would be really weird.
The $10,000, Tanner. Hand them over, Chester.
One day, you and me gonna dance.
Strike up the tune, baby.
Talk.
Those punks, Stan and Chester, just a couple of lowlights who got lucky and tagged me for a meal ticket, man. Figured I knew something you was gonna increase some bills for. You know what I'm saying? I guess I was their ace, and they played me, man. The French cat and Castaldi met some suit up in the Painted Ladies. The suit goes by the name of Hancock, Don Hancock. That smooth operator running for office on the East Coast. That self-same cat who serves the backwater of sleeves. You know what I'm saying, my man? You know something else? There's some cat called Slater. He don't like you, man. He don't like you at all. If your brakes ain't working too good, he's the cat who knows why. You know what I'm saying? He ain't finished with you yet. So, be cool, man.
You have 2 new messages.
We got us some plans to do a payroll job. Simple getaway, 20%. You have yourself some thinking time. See if you want in with us. One of our men, Ross, has been spotted by the cops on the tram. They'll be waiting for him when he gets off the other end. Get down to Hyde Street before the cops do. Bring him to us. We need to have ourselves a little powwow with Mr. Ross. We...
This is one of my favorite missions, even though it seems pretty simple. I mean, the name of the mission kind of gives away the surprise. It's storming and raining again, but honestly, when is it not storming and raining? We have a minute and a half to get to the garage, which is honestly a pretty lenient time limit for the short period we have to travel. Listen, I was barely breaking the law. You know, barely. Come on now. I used to joke about with my brother that no matter how small the offense you commit is, the police will not stop until you are dead. Clearly, Driver takes place in some sort of alternate dystopian reality. This is one of those missions where we don't have to lose the tail, and not only do we not have to lose it, but the tail actually actively pulls away from us as we get closer. Might make you think something weird is going on here, like this is some sort of setup. Not sure where you get that idea from. We're nearing the garage now. It's that weird cube thing on the map right there. The garage has a few sharp turns in it, and you need to be able to navigate it very quickly in order to complete this mission. Hopefully you'll memorize it on the way up. To get all the way up there, we just need to take 3 sharp left turns, no biggie. You're going to want to get in a good position to leave quickly, before you touch the arrow. Oh no, it was a setup! I don't know how we ever could have seen this coming. You want to take the farthest ramp down, to avoid the cop cars that are right next to you. You'll still probably get hit by the one down on the bottom floor like I did, but you'll be fine. Now, for some reason, after you get out of the garage, the cops have a really hard time following you the rest of the way. Your felony meter is pretty decently up there now. Not even halfway, but it's decently up there. It's nothing that should prevent you from getting to your motel, though. But let's say, oh dear. That could have gone worse. But let's say you're really lazy. and you get caught by the cops on the way to your motel even though there's no time limit. Well then do not despair, friend, for I have a trick to help you too. It's a super secret strategy that only the most elite of driver players could ever find. But seriously, let's speed this up a little. So if you have tail on you when you pull back into your motel, and you hide in the corner, they will be too stupid to follow you, and they will eventually vanish. Congratulations, you won the mission. So Mr. Slater here, he saw us snooping around, and we can't let him get away. We just gotta have a talk with him about our secrets. Gotta make sure he doesn't tell anybody what was going on back there. Just a friendly little chat. You know, we got off on a bad start, we kinda punched him in the face, but that doesn't mean we can't be friends. We might even be able to work together in the future, you know? We could always use someone to help us on these driving missions, to distract the cops. Or maybe we could distract the cops for him. You know, it could turn it into a buddy cop show. He just needs to slow down so we can talk to him for a fucking second. Just slow down, motherfucker. Oh, he's dead.
Shift your ass, Tanner.
Did you hear about Slater?
We think the cops got him. We saw what was left of his car. Looks like he chewed on too much speed.
Wasn't even a job. It don't add up. Mr. Castaldi don't want you working for no one else from now on. Only his contacts, understand? You can't trust no one here. Town's packed full of gangsters. Get your bags.
We got ourselves some work in L.A. We're gonna do our gangster there.
You have 2 new messages.
We need a cop car. You get it and you bring it in. Your usual fee. But it's no good to us if you wreck it. So you boogie on over here, but with a Beverly Hills shine on that bodywork. We got ourselves a possibility downtown. Should be smooth. Our boy Lucky's gonna be with us. We need a cop car.
So oddly enough, this mission, which sounds pretty unique, is not unique in the slightest. We don't actually steal the cop car, we start in it. We just need to get back to the lockup without having any tail on us and without bumping the car up too badly. Now, I don't remember how badly you're allowed to bump the car without being failed. But that doesn't matter because I'm going to make it through without getting hit once anyway. We do get to learn a lot about LA here though. There are a couple really long straight roads that connect the islands, but for the most part it's just a lot of really, really small roadways. The safest place in the long roadways is right where the traffic cones are, because no cars will be driving there for obvious reasons. We're backing up right now to erase that cop in front of us. We're just going to erase him using the draw distance. Our time limit will be pretty tight because of that, but we can still make it. It's kind of funny that you can intentionally remove the cops from existence by backing up far enough. This is especially useful when you have no time limit, but of course you usually have a time limit. So you might be wondering, since we're in a cop car, does that mean the cops will still spot us right away? And the answer is yes. Now, I don't know if there's some sort of super secret special method to detect whether a cop car is piloted by a real cop or not, but they seem to have one. I mean, so I might be breaking traffic laws a little bit, but I just turn my siren on and that goes away, right? But this is also the game where if you run a red light, the cops try to murder you, so I might be thinking a little too hard. So you may have noticed that this is a relatively uneventful mission, because it's just a really long straight road, and there's plenty of room to dodge oncoming traffic, so there's no real danger of getting smacked back into the cops. There's really no way to get lost or confused either. It's just a straight stretch to the finish, except for a couple turns right at the end. We're coming up on my favorite part of the city, though. Hell yeah, that looks pretty right there. I love that. Eat your heart out, Spider-Man 3. Look at all those reds and yellows. That's good shit. It's good shit. Have I turned in a while? I don't remember when I last turned. I might have blinked and missed it. But yeah, this is a really, really easy mission, and there's nothing to it at all. You basically just hold X for 2 minutes.
Duval owes us money. He thinks he's giving us the slip. We just heard he's got plans to leave town. He's heading for the airport. Stop him getting on the Frisco plane and we'll handle the rest.
This mission is a good opportunity to learn more about how the chases work. The AI has to follow one of several routes, and which route it picks depends on which way traffic is moving. The AI cannot actually be stopped by traffic, but the traffic does dictate where it goes. Every chase mission has several invisible checkpoints where the AI looks to see where there's the least resistance and then drives there. Now, after you figure this out, you can see where the AI is going to go ahead of time, and it stops surprising you. This may not be the fully dynamic chase scenes that exist in later driving games, but it's pretty damn close. Having the AI actively respond to traffic density is pretty damn good for the time period. And the more strict routes means that it's easier to get the mission done consistently. For example, I know that he's going to turn right 3 times here because I've seen him go down this route before. I would also like to add that when someone heard me playing this game, they asked if I was watching Starsky and Hutch, so good job, Reflections.
Okay, this time we took care of the business we came to this town for. Since we don't have Slater, we got ourselves a different driver. But, Jean-Paul, you handle the hit, and I'll handle the backup.
When do we go?
Tomorrow night, on the steps of the Chinese Theater.
I want to know, does this mean the hit in New York is lined up?
This means we take out Bill Maddox. Then we wait for the signal and, yes, my friend, then you can start shining up those silver slugs with a famous name on them. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Oh, one last thing, gentlemen. Don't let me down.
We're finally taking people to shoot someone. That's how you know you've made it to the big times in the wheelman business. That means we're actually almost done in LA already, though, which seems kinda weird. I feel like we weren't here for very long at all. This is a very short game if you just take each mission's successful runtime and stack them on top of each other. But of course, most of the time playing this game is spent failing the missions. For a story-related mission, this one actually isn't terribly tough or interesting. It is storming and raining again, but it is always storming and raining in LA. Maybe the reason there are so few missions in this place is because most of the roads are so long and straight, and they couldn't find much to do with it. But anyway, back to what's happening. We're taking people to murder a guy. Now, Tanner is obviously an ends justify the means kind of guy. But something with the Driver series in general is that it doesn't examine its morals very much. In Driver 1 through 3, you're an undercover cop, but you get a lot of people injured and killed doing your work. I mean, it's all in the name of finding out who's behind the biggest conspiracy, but you know, people still suffer for it. I'm not complaining about that, by the way. The game doesn't concern itself with its morals, so you probably shouldn't either. The story certainly does a good job delivering what it promised on, and it's interesting enough if you're able to follow it. So Driver is kind of brutal, the original one, I mean, the one we're playing right now, but it's not nearly as brutal as some of the later games in the series, particularly Parallel Lines. In this one, you're technically the good guy, and also in the second and third ones, but in Parallel Lines, you're just a criminal, and you just murder people because that gets you money. Hey, there were no cops waiting for us in here this time. Though there are cops waiting outside, but, I mean... it's certainly not like we're afraid of cops at this point. We have to make our way from the garage to the Chinese theater, which may seem like it's a bit far away, but it's really not. Because again, the roads are mostly straight. And there's no real strategy I can give you here that I haven't already. Try to aim for the area where the traffic cones are, because that's where the cars are least likely to travel. And just keep driving straight. But anyway, back to Parallel Lines. I think the change from an undercover mode to being an actual criminal was a result of the series trying to be more like GTA. You could argue that Driver 3 tried to be too much like GTA, but Driver 3 is way weirder and more obtuse than GTA in almost every possible fashion. I like to think that Driver 3 added the third-person shooting not because of GTA, but because they thought that was the next logical step for the series. Most people seem to think it's a misstep, and I'm not going to disagree. But the way the third-person shooting and driving were designed was way, way different than what GTA presented. And it still switched to several different locations like the original Driver and Driver 2 did. Speaking of which, we only have one more location to go before we end the game. Oh, and that infamous final mission. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I mean, this guy at the Chinese theater isn't going to kill himself. I hope. That would be a little embarrassing if we got there and he was already dead. Though I suppose there's no reason we couldn't take credit for it anyway, and just say we did it super sneaky. That we made it look like a suicide, and that's why everybody reported it that way. Excuse me, sir. Trying to go murder someone. Oh shit, it's the cops. They were waiting for us, even though the cops appear to be nowhere near us. But according to the game, they were waiting for us, so we better book it. Hey, there's one. So we have as much time as we need to get back, but the drive to the safe house is a lot longer than the drive here was. This means the cops have way more opportunity to catch us and put up potential barricades, but I'm confident that we can come out on top. So the cops were just sitting there waiting for us, which means someone probably tipped them off. And I don't think it was us. Probably wasn't us. I mean, you can never be too sure, but we're just gonna rule ourselves out for now. You know, sometimes I feel bad for defaulting to the strategy of, if you reach the lockup and there's still a cop, just ram into him until he dies. But then I remember how hard this game is if you try to do it legit. Not impossible, but just flat out ramming into the cops until they go away probably saved me at least a few dozen retries. And as much as I love this game, I'm probably not going to be playing it for at least a few years after this. Also, either the darkness on my TV is incredibly high or I'm blind, because I didn't see that divider there. This game is weird because you can mess up a lot more than you think you can, but it's also insanely difficult. This means that it would be hard for me to ever call the game unfair, but I would be lying if I said it didn't make me cry sometimes. Just curl up and cry all over the controller, and then play it again for another 2 hours. That's how you know you're playing a game right.
They knew we were coming. I'm sure of it.
They were just sitting waiting for us. We were like tin ducks in a shooting gallery.
Quiet.
Man! We got a rat!
I said quiet. Yeah? You're straight, we got a rat.
You think it's the driver?
I don't remember asking you a thing. We got a rat for sure. You drove well tonight, Tanner. You got something you want to say to me?
I drive well every night.
I'll ask you one more time. If you got something to say, then you better say it.
Slater.
Slater's in a Frisco cell taking heat. You better get real specific, real quick.
It figures. Slater knew all about this, and so he sings a song to the police and saves himself some circuits on the exercise yard.
No way. Slater? That don't lay right.
You would never do that, right?
The question is simple. Do you trust Slater, or do you trust Tanner?
This changes nothing. We finish up here, and we move on to New York, and wait for the signal.
You have 3 new messages.
Granger's gang's been seen in town, and they got our boy Lucky. We're putting a team together to go and get him out of there. We still need a driver, and I know you can bring something serious to the dance. We plan on heading out in one car, packing a load of heat, then getting in and out like we think we're something in the movies. Check it out, man! I can offer you a getaway job! We're heading up to Beverly Hills! I got it all figured out! We're onto something mighty fine! We planning a job round First Interstate, see? We want to use a new lockup. We want to know if the timings stack up. You the man to test the plan? Granger's gang's been seen. Check it out!
Welcome back to Driver, and what you just saw was a replay that I saved in Director Mode. Director Mode is a means you use to make your replays of missions look a lot more fancy. We're going to be using it a couple more times before the game ends, and maybe for some extra stuff. But this is a pretty simple getaway job, like the very first mission we played. I'm sure you noticed that the cops pulled away when I got close to our destination, but I'm sure that's just a coincidence and nothing weird is happening. As I was saying, this mission is fairly standard, which is a bit unfortunate because it is the last mission of LA. But the final location is the best one and has the best missions, so... I do believe in this mission we get to see a piece of LA's design that has been missing up until this point for some reason. We'll see when we come up on some traffic cones. Yeah, there you go. In certain missions, the cars actually try to drive between the traffic cones to switch lanes, like they're hot shit. This is almost certainly done so that way you can't use the traffic cones as a safe zone as I had been doing previously, which is pretty neat. You'll notice they're intentionally pulling out right in front of me, because I'm driving on the yellow line. I don't know why this only triggers in certain missions, but it's neat. But in spite of that, we're pretty near the end already. No cops on our tail either, so things are looking pretty alright. Aside from this incredibly dense traffic. Oh shit, the cops were waiting for us and we need to drive all the way to the safe house instead. So yeah, I lied. This mission is anything but standard. It tricks you into thinking it's normal, and then there are cops waiting for you at the lockup. And I really like this mission for screwing with your expectations like that. There's also a ton of mandatory police barricades, at least 3 that appear while you drive to the safe house. Speaking of which, there's one right here. The last part of this mission almost entirely comes down to how well you deal with police barricades. When you see a police barricade, I recommend immediately positioning yourself on the yellow line, because that's where the police are least concentrated at. If you're lucky, you can squeeze right between them with minimal damage. It's much better than just ramming into one from the side. So yeah, it's still a really long straight road, but this mission at least uses that to its advantage. And I like it a lot for that. It's probably my favorite mission in LA. And in spite of it screwing with your expectations, it's also surprisingly not very hard. Mostly because the police pull away from your destination the first 2 times. Did you see me squeeze between those cop cars? That was some skill. While we're here, we're going to talk about something else that pertains to Driver that you don't actually get to see during this Let's Play. A lot of games' transitions and cutscenes are made in spite of loading times, as though the loading times won't actually be there. Now, I prefer this personally because it makes it a lot easier to edit, but certain games like Driver or Deep Black use their loading screens as part of their transition, which is probably the smarter thing to do. For example, it may seem weird to you how the game jumps immediately from me finishing a mission to a story cutscene unrelated to the mission. But if you sat through the 30-second loading screen first, the transition may seem less jarring. And I believe that was intentional. I believe Reflection made use of the loading screens to transition to cutscenes that otherwise wouldn't have had a place going after some missions. That doesn't mean I'm going to show you the loading screen, though.
Lek. It's Tanner. Why all the officers the other night?
Not my idea. Maddox wouldn't play ball lest they were there. Did your cover hold?
Is Mackenzie talking to the FBI?
They were with him this morning. Marcus Vaughn, no less. One of their top guys paid him a visit. He told him nothing. Hell, that ain't hard for Mackenzie. He don't exactly dig Vaughn.
I'm piecing this together, Lek. You want to know who flew into town tonight? Marcus Vaughn. I know, because I've just seen him talking with Castaldi.
What the hell you saying, Tanner?
Just telling you what I saw.
You telling me Castaldi's talking with Hancock and Vaughn? What the hell's going down?
That ain't the kind of information I plan on keeping to myself, Lek. Castaldi's gang's flying out to New York tomorrow. I'll see you there.
You have 3 new messages.
Cowboy, we need to make a switch at Grand Central. Something's cooking, and I want someone on it who's gonna be cool. Cool as Sly and the Family Stone. This whole job's still full of ifs, man, but if this sounds good to you, you know where I am.
对啊，这个那个东西呢，东西这个就是哎呦，那就东西个哎呦的，这个不给的，一小包个large fried，我听着。
We got a real beat-up car in our yard. We need it taken care of. But hang tight, 'cause you're gonna get a whole lot of static on the roads with wheels like this, I tell ya. You never seen such a heap of shit. I just hope that if you gotta run, it's gonna get you there.
There's no real way you could know this, but by taking this mission you trigger a bunch of cutscenes throughout the rest of New York that let you learn a lot more about Tanner and his past. There's no indication whatsoever that going down this route would give you those cutscenes, but I'm just letting you know, you need to take the mission Luther's Heap of Junk in order to get them. Now about the mission itself, provided you drive slowly, this is probably the easiest mission in the game, because there are no cops on your tail and you just need to get from point A to point B. There's no time limit either, but the mission is already pretty long even if you do drive fast, so I can't imagine driving slowly and obeying the traffic laws. You'd be here a while. Even if you do trigger the cops, it's not a big deal. You should be able to outmaneuver them fairly quickly because this city has a lot of turns. There's another mission very similar to this one later in New York that we won't be doing, where you have to take a very weak taxi cab to some of your employers. And it dies in about 2 or 3 hits. This incredibly beat up car actually might be more durable than the taxi cab, but we don't have to worry about that because we're not taking that mission. So there's about another 2 minutes of just this before I actually reach the goal, so we're gonna skip to that.
I heard you were in town, Tanner.
You still breaking and entering, Ellie?
As a matter of fact, I was just about to leave. You're still keeping girls waiting far too long.
Don't look to me like you're leaving.
It's me! I'm in trouble! The job's going out of shape! Me and my team will hold up downtown. The cops have us pinned down. We can't hold them off. They're packing some serious heat. Get here quick, man. Get us out of here.
Now I actually really enjoy this mission because it punishes you for being a cheap asshole, and it encourages you to take as many turns as possible on the way to your destination. We have to get to them to pick them up in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which isn't a lot of time, but you should be able to do it with a good 20 seconds left. Now, the thing you might want to do right away is drive to the edge of the map, take the highway, and just drive straight to the goal, because that's the quickest route there. But the quickest route there is a terrible, terrible idea, because if you drive to the edge and take the highway, they have cop cars stationed on the sides of the highway for you. Like, they're always there, regardless of whether you have any felony meter. So taking the highway is a no-no unless you're confident in your ability to dodge cop cars in a relatively confined space repeatedly. I mean, all things considered, it may be good practice for the final mission, but few things are going to prepare you for the final mission. So the route we're taking with the missions, we won't get to see that much of New York, just the center mostly. Some of the other missions take you literally from one end of New York to the other. So that girl Tanner met back in his apartment, Allie, she was one of the cutscenes that triggers if you take the Luther's Heap of Junk mission. And you actually get a different ending if you fulfill a few other qualifications. Now, the endings aren't that vastly different, but we're going to get the best one, so to speak. It's a very slight difference, but it's noticeable if you pay that much attention. So we're almost to the pickup, and of course there are going to be cops waiting for us at the pickup, because as they said on the phone, there are already cops there surrounding them. In spite of that, after we arrive at the location, they will just walk right out of the building and into our car. So apparently they had no issue getting out, they just needed us to be there to drive them away. Have you guys noticed it's been storming a lot lately? I feel like every mission has had a storm in it. So the actual cop cars waiting for us, they don't move. They just sit there. They're just kind of blockades. After you pick them up, cop cars outside will immediately drive in toward you. The best thing you can do is just head straight for the exit. This doesn't always work out in your favor, but trying to outmaneuver them in the small space you have back there is an even worse idea. So I haven't seen many walkthroughs mention this, but the cops during this mission are definitely far more aggressive than the ones in any other mission up to this point. They have no problem staying right on your tail, and the only cops more aggressive than these are the ones at the final mission. We don't want to take the highway to our destination, just like we didn't want to take our highway on the way there, because there are still cops waiting for us, this time in blockade formation, which is much worse. So yeah, this mission effectively punishes you for using the highway at all, so don't do it. Now, believe it or not, it's still a really long drive from here to our destination, about as long as the Luther's Heap of Junk mission. So it can get frustrating if you screw up right before you reach the goal. The best advice I can give you is to keep making turns. The more you turn, the less likely there is to be a blockade in front of you. For example, we haven't turned in a while, and I believe a blockade spawns in just a minute. You should always keep yourself headed toward the goal, but turn as many times as possible. Because, yeah, that's less likely to happen. Here's that blockade I was talking about. Sometimes other cop cars smash through the blockade before you do, and that creates a huge mess. Many of the missions in New York seem to take longer than the missions in the rest of the game, but I've memorized them so thoroughly that it doesn't seem that big a deal anymore. I believe this is the last possible mission to receive from this particular client, so if you liked his voice as much as I did, unfortunately, this was the last time you get to hear it. So while we're here and we have about a minute left, let's talk about something I think was kind of funny in regards to the immediate post-release reception of this game, on the consumer side. Now, a lot of consumers were genuinely disappointed with the game because they didn't think it was what they read about in the reviews, or was advertised or told about by people they know. But one of the funniest complaints I found is there seems to be a somewhat small group of individuals who were disappointed that you couldn't tune or customize the cars, or modify the city or the cars themselves in any way. And that just seems so outright bizarre to me, because this doesn't really seem like the game where you would even want to do that. The cars they give you, while they do handle differently, are obviously chosen specifically to be part of the challenge of each mission. So being able to change the cars would kind of break the undercover mode. Not horribly, but to a degree that the design would be noticeably different. That reminds me, there is a car select function for the take a ride mode after you finish the game, but only in the PC version. I still don't want to play the PC version though, because in addition to having different music, it seems to play quite differently, and the cities have minor changes that would really mess me up.
This time I'm gonna make a fresh start. New city, new job.
How long you been working for Hancock?
Couple of years, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I know he's crooked. What are you mixed up in, Tanner?
What I know and what I can prove ain't exactly seeing eye to eye right now.
What are you gonna do when this all blows over, Tanner?
You have 3 new messages.
We need a cab, see? We got some more cab rides we need to give in the city. We just need you to bring us one we can use. Don't bring it in if it's all beat up. Granger's wheels had just been spotted, cowboy. They're parked up in Midtown. Call me if you want to make a mess of them. Yeah.
It's in my line.
That's good. That's good. Then we're all set. I got a job in your line. One of Granger's boys been picking up negs that we want to take a look at. Now you get your ass in your car, and you chase that dude, and bring us those negs lickety-split.
Now this is easily meant to be the hardest chase mission in the game, but unfortunately the AI has an issue. One of the paths it takes makes it really easy to ram it head on. It makes a turn up here in this little small alcove, and then it turns around to come straight towards you, like an idiot. So you just bump it in the front. Mission done. The poor sap.
Got a feeling, Lek. I got a feeling it's gonna happen real soon. They're gonna make the hit.
Who'd you think it is?
I got a feeling it's Big Lek. That's all I know.
I'm not getting a kick out of saying it, Tanner, but I'm gonna play the same tune that you already heard. We're not sure if your cover's clean anymore. Man, you pieced all the together in the first place. Hancock's bribed half the FBI, and whatever deal he's cut with Castaldi means your ass ain't looking like it's gonna see winter this year. Should I spell it out for you? It's time to get out.
Tell Mackenzie I'm gonna need that safe house real soon. I got a hand, Lek, so I'm gonna play it. And I'm gonna play it good.
Tanner, it's me.
Where?
I'm in Hancock's office. I've been in his safe.
Bad move, Allie.
There's a guard in the building, Tanner. They found my car. I need you to come and get me out quick. Real quick.
So this is the second to last mission, but aside from the dramatic tension, it's not all that different from a normal getaway job. We have to go rescue Allie from her boss before she dies and bring her back to our apartment. The only really challenging thing about this mission is that it is super goddamn dark. And if there's one thing you should have noticed about these latest missions in New York, it's that most of them are super goddamn dark. I'm almost positive that the majority of the challenge for this mission was supposed to come from the fact that you can barely see anything. You can get around this by either turning up the brightness on your television or playing the level so many times that you have it completely memorized. I decided to go with neither. I really actually got this mission done on my first try, and I could barely remember the route specifically to where Allie is. And I think the biggest obstacle to me is I get myself really fucked up by some innocent park benches. Those things will screw you over big time. I also accidentally take a route to Allie that is way longer than it should be. I think I drive right past her at least one time. But hey, I finished the mission on my first try. You know, that I wasn't gonna do it again. You should be impressed for me. I should be impressed for me. I'm not, though. After you pick up Allie, nothing changes. She just asks you to stop driving so she can drive instead. And if that were an option, I would totally do that. I mean, I'm sure the AI doesn't have any problem seeing the road in this mission, so it already has the advantage there. Yeah, see, that was pretty embarrassing, but it all works out in the end. So what was Allie doing cracking her boss's safe? I mean, she said she wanted to start over. She said she wanted to work a legitimate job and start a different life. And that sounds like the opposite of what was going on here. Maybe she has a good reason, though. I mean, she won't talk about it right now, and even if she were trying to, we probably wouldn't respond because we're kind of running away from the cops at, like, plus 100 miles per hour. She does keep shouting at us to let her drive, like I said, but again, there's no option to do that.
What's the matter, Ollie? Can't get this lock-picking.
Hancock's safe was...
What the hell were you thinking?
You said you couldn't lay enough on Hancock.
I didn't want you mixed up in this.
I got this.
Never pull this on me again. You gonna let me read this?
Screwing up over Maddox cost us time, but now we paid that in full. So today, you're gonna see how it works. John Paul takes up his position across the street. Tanner's gonna pass for FBI, and so he's gonna be our guy on the inside driving a Cadillac. Now all he's gotta do is drive past John Paul, nice and easy. And bingo, we got ourselves one hell of a martyr, and one hell of a news story. Now we're gonna have 4 backup cars in case anything goes wrong. One at each junction around... Excuse me, Monsieur Castaldi, but who is the Heat? Today, gentlemen, we killed the president.
Where you going, Tanner?
I gotta...
Didn't you hear none of that in there? We're going now, baby. You better start giving off police vibes if you're gonna get into that driving seat and do this thing.
Alright, this is it. The absolute final mission. And this one is really infamous. I'm not sure how many people beat it, but I can't imagine it was that many. Without cheat codes, anyway. There are police cars that are at least twice as aggressive as usual, and a ton of black sedans that are even more aggressive than the police cars. After you drive for 8 seconds, your felony meter goes to full, and this kind of stuff happens. Now, your car is a lot more resilient than any other car in the game, but that doesn't mean a whole lot when you have these nut jobs on your tail. The most important thing in this mission, no matter what anyone else tells you, is to keep driving straight and just dodge anything that comes your way. Taking any of the smaller roads is almost instant, certain death, and you need the momentum you get from driving straight in order to reach the end. If you're really, really good at the game, you can eventually memorize where each of the black sedans spawn, where each police barricade is, and where each police car comes from. If you're really good at it. But unfortunately, unlike almost every other mission in this game, I can't give you any advice besides drive straight and dodge everything. It only took me 2 hours to complete this mission, but I would be lying if I said that was entirely my skill. Even if you memorize the location of every police car and every black sedan, the random NPC cars can still screw you up. And one screw up is a big deal. After you get past the halfway point, which is right here, the police cars seem to get a lot less aggressive, but it's still a really, really long drive to the finish, and if you've lost too much momentum, you're probably not going to make it. The reason momentum is so important is that the police cars and black sedans are definitely faster than you, and they will ram you from behind and knock you into walls. Now, spoilers, this is not the victory run. This was my first attempt. I died so many times, and I'm gonna make sure you see a good chunk of that. But in a heavily edited format, of course. For such an incredibly difficult mission, there's not a whole lot to say about it, though this is a good way to achieve true serenity. I mean, if you have even the slightest bit of anger in your body, this final mission will probably turn you into a hate monster. It is the devil might beam of driving games, so if you want to make sure that you're the most pure of heart person possible, I recommend trying Driver.
You okay, sir?
I'm fine, son.
Got him. Sir, you okay?
Uh-huh.
We got him. Tanner, Castaldi, Hancock, and Vaughn. We got them all. Take your badge back now, Tanner.
How much of the FBI did Vaughn drag down with him?
It's gonna take some time for us to shift right through all this. Meantime, take your badge back. Take it. Tanner! Now you get yourself back here, Tanner. Now you come back here and you pick up this badge. Tanner! You just bought yourself a whole lot of trouble, fella. This is your last chance, Tanner!
Now that we've actually finished the main mode of Driver, we've unlocked the cheat codes, which we will play during the driving games. Now the driving games are really just intended as practice for the undercover mode, as far as I can tell. The cheat codes we currently have enabled are all of the ones that make a visible difference. We have Anti-Podian, which flips everything upside down and is not related to the art movement, but rather the geographical concept. We have Stilts enabled, which makes it almost impossible to turn, and even more impossible to drift. Having Stilts enabled, as near as I can tell, makes the game pretty much unplayable. And having your controls reversed because of the Anti-Podian cheat doesn't help very much either. Some of these cheats seem a lot more like gags than actual cheats, though there is a traditional invincibility cheat in there as well. And I believe also immunity to cops. But yes, if the final mission of Driver wasn't hard enough for you, I recommend turning on Stilts and Anti-Podian and seeing if you like the new Game Plus features. Back there we were doing a chase mission, and right now we're doing a mission where we simply have to lose the cop. All of the driving games are very similar to actual missions you complete in the undercover mode. So even though we have the car set to mini, as you can see, the cars are very tiny. The hitbox for the car is normal size. The only other even remotely important thing to note is that while Anti-Podian is on, the HUD stays exactly in the same position, including markers on the map. As you can see, these arrows are pointing upwards when they should definitely be pointing toward the road. So considering these are the driving minigames, which, you know, there's not a lot here, there's not a lot to do, period, after you finish the undercover mode besides to take a ride, which is the free ride function, where you just drive around any city. But I mean, don't pretend the undercover mode isn't going to take you forever, because it is. So yeah, those are the cheats.